All right, guys, we are live with episode 30 of the Start, Build, Grow show, where contracting and entrepreneurship meet. And, today our buddy Randy Brothers actually kind of left me hanging. This is the first episode that I'll be doing solo dolo without Randy. So I was telling our guest here that we got to make this the best show of them all. That's just so that way I can kind of prove my value. You know what I mean? As one of the co-hosts. So Ronnie Smith, man, I'm really counting on you to bring the heat today. You think you can do that for me?
Oh man, we're gonna definitely do our best, man. I'm excited about this, man.
Man, what's cool, Ronnie, man, is I did some research on you. I know your background and whatnot, but this morning was actually the first time that me and you got to chat.
Right.
And you give me a phone call, and right off the bat, man, I was like, dude, this guy's bringing the fire, man. So I got a new nickname for you. All right, we're gonna be calling you Ronnie Showtime Smith. I don't know what you think
You
about
got
that.
it. I love it, dude. That's great, man.
Man, dude. Well, hey, so what I like to do too is we're kind of waiting on people to jump in and join us and whatnot. Is kind of discuss who you are. So, man, who's Ronnie Smith? Where are you from? What's your background, man?
So, I mean, originally I was actually born and raised in Alabama,
Okay.
and that's my hometown. Roll Tide, baby.
Roll Tide.
So we grew there, and I've been in Tennessee, man, for the last 27 plus years. And so when I moved here, man, I actually started out in the car business years and years ago, and that was my background. And then about 15, 16, 17 years ago, broke into construction, and we just started specializing and working with residential and commercial construction, broke into staffing, permanent placement type stuff. And man, just working with some $100 million plus companies. Ooh. And working with processes and
wait, did you just say $100 million?
$100 million big
$100
PCs, man, building hospitals and all kind of vertical and horizontal construction, man. So it was great.
Hey, if you guys hear what he's saying right now, make sure you get this right, man. He's working with $100 million companies. So if you're looking to grow that business, man, you better stay tuned. Sorry to cut you off, man, but go ahead.
No. So just working with them, and I've always had a passion with working with the smaller to mid-sized companies and people wanting to grow their business, but really not knowing how to do that. So I kind of plugged in and started taking my experience and been rocking on ever since, man. So it's been really cool.
So where are you living now?
I live in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, so let's dive a little bit more about what you're doing now. So right now you're working with small to mid-sized businesses right now?
Yeah, most of them though is like it's all construction. It's all like mid-sized residential and commercial construction. And of course, with Job Nimbus, what I'm doing with that side of the business is actually consulting with these guys and being able to get into their business models, kind of understand how they're currently running them, find out where their pain points and stuff like that is, and then try to build the system out accordingly. But I've been working, man, with anywhere from people that are starting up their companies from the roofing industry all the way up to $50-60 million companies and setting them up as well.
So what does this process look like? So let's say is it a situation where they become a Job Nimbus client and then you go in and help them use the platform for their company to implement the process and stuff like that? Or what does this look like? So people that might not be using Job Nimbus yet can kind of get a better idea.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we don't have what they would call like a setup fee per se, but we do offer like paid trainings. But the thing about it is, and what a lot of people don't realize is I come at them from a consulting standpoint. It gives me this opportunity to just really dig in and dive in and understand how they're taking everything from like lead acquisitions, understanding their sales process, understanding that production process, understanding how they're collecting that money, and then being able to really how the phone calls are coming into the office and really just digging in and understanding their pain points, what they're going through, and then being able to develop that and then streamline that and scale that. Because I've come to find out that a lot of times, man, people will try to have like 50 processes and they can't even get their salespeople to follow the 5, So we'll scale that back and get them to do that. And then I build it out. And then once we've done that, man, we train them and get them pumped up about it. So the salespeople, and just getting everybody to commit to it. It's about making a commitment to their own processes.
Yeah, you mentioned you've been mentioning processes and stuff like that, and you're from Alabama. Can you learn a thing or two from that guy out there, Nick Saban?
Oh man, that dude is killer, man. You know what? I tell you what. One of the things I was watching a article that he did. He was
Yeah,
actually doing. He was talking on a show, and he was talking about processes. Man, he drives these people day in, day out in practice for just that 60 minutes. He's like, man, we got to get them. You got to play for the full 60 minutes. And
right.
that man, that is one of the most process-driven guys I know of, and executing. And that's one of the biggest
Hmm.
things, man, is executing what you got and being able to get it out of park and put it into drive,
Yeah.
and so he does a good job at that, man.
Well, I mean, how
So
many
yeah,
championships has that guy won now, man? It's crazy.
6.
6 championships, man.
So yeah, man, he's killing it right now.
He's like the Bill Belichick, right? I mean, you look at some of the people that they have in New England. It seems like the receivers are always hurt and whatnot, and it doesn't even matter who they plug in there. You know what I mean? It just seems like they get somebody, they plug it into the culture, they plug it into the processes, and it just works. Is that the kind of the? Actually, what's your thoughts on that comment I just made?
Well, one of the things that I like about what Nick Saban does is,
Hmm.
and it's the same thing with the business, right? Nick Saban evaluates his players. I mean, when you're evaluating your players, hey, you got A players, you got B players, C
Yep.
players, D players, and man, he looks at his team. He looks at what is in his back pocket, and he plugs those people in. But man,
Yeah.
he'll put those A players out, but he'll work on those D players to try to make them better. And sometimes, man, he'll bench them, because he
Right.
realized that they're not a part of the team.
So okay, so what takeaways can we take from that and put that into a roofing business? Because you're very right, because I feel like they'll take somebody off the streets that's working as like a waiter or something. You seriously hear some crazy some crazy stuff where they're just pulling people off the streets and plugging them in, and then they work. But then they'll also have players that they plug in, and as soon as they fumble the ball, they're on the bench. How can we take that as when you're looking for help and you need to just be able to plug somebody in? How can you make sure that you're actually going to have success with that person?
Well, I tell you what, and this has been the craziest thing is a
Yeah.
lot of times, like in business, they'll hire people that already have the skill set, right? They'll bring people in that already kind of knows the industry, that can sell and that kind of stuff, but their attitude just kind of stinks. You
Yep.
know, I would almost rather take someone that doesn't necessarily have that specific skill sets, but they got the right attitude. They got
Yep.
the willingness to learn, because then I can teach them. The skill itself is just teaching them. And the main thing is getting the managers to train their people and to pour into them and make that investment to them. And I
Hmm.
know right now there are companies out there, and that's exactly what Nick Saban does, man. He pours into them. He don't give up on them, and until they just don't either want to do it, and then he'll kind of bench them. But these people that don't want to work, it only takes one person, man. It takes to just ruin the whole thing for
Yeah.
for a team member. So you got to be quick to respond to that. And Nick Saban is very good with that. He's quick to respond, to pull them out if their attitude's not right on the field, or their head's not in the game, and that kind of thing. So
So does it kind of just start from the leader pretty much then, and just making sure that there's a good call?
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, here's the thing about that. Let's talk about
Hmm.
leadership for a minute, and
Yeah,
and I'm
man.
actually going to be addressing this in Austin here,
Yeah.
but
Well, hey guys, real quick plug though before we do that, because I just want you guys to know Ronnie will be talking more about this at the Job Nimbus Solution Summit. Okay, and so that's in Austin, Texas, on October 22nd and 23rd. All right, so if you share this post, you will be entered to win a free ticket. So if you guys are interested in going there, all you gotta do is click share, and you'll enter to win that ticket. But go ahead, Ronnie.
awesome. The thing about it is, and what people think about leadership is, it's about understanding that true leadership is not necessarily a title. It's
Hmm.
about being a servant to your people. It's about making them the best that they can be and giving them the tools. So
Hmm.
you can take any team, right? You can take those people, and a lot of times it's in the leadership, because they're not leading them people. They're not pouring in them. They're not blowing them up and saying, "Hey, you can do this." And it's just all about a personality. So it all starts at the head. And the old saying is, don't what is it? Don't do what I say, or don't copy what I'm doing, but do what I say type mentality.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, so that's the mindset. But it all starts at leadership. They got to be that example. They got to lead, and if they're leading properly, then the people are going to follow
Mm-hmm. So what about at the leader standpoint? Because I know there's a lot of leaders out there. I mean, what can they do to make sure that they are being a servant to their people? Is there any way to kind of analyze that and give like an honest assessment to that situation?
Oh God, yeah. So I'll tell you one of there. Listen, man. There are a lot of factors that go into running a business, right? A lot of people have the skill sets of doing things, but running a business is a little bit different. But I can tell you, just in the roofing industry alone, there's a lot of factoring going there. But I'm going to give you four, and I'm going to be hitting these
Boom.
things hard actually in Austin. The number one problem that most people face in the roofing industry and construction and most businesses is communicational breakdown. That is the number one
Mm-hmm.
problem internally,
Yep.
externally, whether it's between just from a production manager to the salespeople, or from the office to the sales back and forth, or just communicating with the customers. That is the number one problem that most of what I have experienced so far has been the problem. So leaders have got to understand they got to learn to communicate to their managers. Those managers have got to be able to lead their salespeople. And a lot of times when people are
Yep.
getting started up, it's the owner, right?
Yep.
So the owner's wearing all the hats. He's the salesperson, he's the production manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's so when they get used to doing that, they got to learn that they've got to be able to let go. And it's about putting the right people in the right place and hiring those people and making sure that they can do that job and let them roll with it.
Yep. Okay, so
So,
communication is number one here. But I want to
yeah.
give you one more shout out from Michael, man. He says, Ronnie Smith, the legend. Thanks for all your advice and great experiences you have shared with me. Boom, man. That's a
Yeah.
testimonial if I say so myself, man.
Oh man, thanks, Michael. Yeah, man, he's a sharp dude, man. He's a cool cat.
Yeah.
So so number two, man, is expectations.
Yeah.
That's the second thing that I face, is that expectations that are not being met in two different ways. And we'll go into more in this, like I said, in Austin, but
Mm-hmm.
the expectation to the customer is number one. Salespeople go out, they kind of don't set those expectations to what those next steps are. They collect the money, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're running. Right now, you guys are killing it in Colorado, and I mean all these hailstorms going on. You get really busy, and then you're like 5 and 6, 7 weeks out of getting a roof done, and nobody's telling anybody anything. So those expectations of those customers that started here because they sold really high, now they're kind of developing down because now they're not following through, which led me to the third one, is follow up. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy, man. I don't understand this. On average, on national average, Randy and I kind of looked at this, but if you look at advertising, whether it's yard signs, truck signage, whether it's Angie's List, or however these leads are generating, you guys on average spend about $300 for those leads. And it's crazy by how many people that don't follow up. They'll go through the initial process, just here local with some of the roofing companies and some of the things I see on Facebook. That's like, hey man, I called somebody out and nobody ever came out and gave me my estimate, or nobody ever followed up. So that is the third problem that I see. And then of course the fourth one is just, man, from an owner to a manager, is you got to get buy-in from your people. And a lot of the problems of what people face is the
Mm-hmm.
simple fact they don't commit to their own processes, is they bail on them way too early. And we're going to be digging. So those are some things that we're going to be talking about, but digging into a little bit deeper
Mm-hmm.
level, there in Austin.
Okay, so I'm kind of just going to go through those four real quick, and if I mess anything up, just let me know. But these are seems to be the four major areas of focus. Is one is communication throughout the entire organization, right?
Yep.
Setting expectations for those clients,
Yep.
following up, right, and then
Correct.
another big issue is not committing to those processes. So making sure that you are committing to those processes.
That is correct. If you don't mind, let me interject.
Yeah,
There's a
go for it, man.
there's another side of this
Mhm.
that really struggles. And I don't know if anybody else has experienced this or not, but the communications of just with the employees. It's
Mhm.
important that the managers know the temperature of their people. And if they don't engage with their people, but here's the thing, when you're scaling your business and if you're the owner of the business, it's hard to communicate. So as you start growing, you get to like Randy's size and stuff like that, then it's
Mhm.
harder to do do that. So you got to have your managers to where the owners are communicating to the managers and they're on the same plane, man. You're not going north south, they're all together. And those
Yeah.
managers being able to communicate to their employees and their staff and know where they are. But the expectations, here's one of the biggest things that I've experienced internal as you're growing your business. It's not just with customers, but a lot of times if I came to work for you, I may have an expectation that I want to be the partner of your company, but your expectation may be I just want you to sell marketing for me, or I just want you to sell for me. And a lot of times the problems with that is that they don't have this open door policy or ask their employees the right questions. Man, where you see yourself in the next 5 years, where you see yourself. Hey, you may start it in sales. Do you want to be a sales manager? Do you want to be a production manager? Do you want to be a VP? Would you like to open up your own location someday? And a lot of times they don't know that. And here's what happens. The people get discouraged because they had those expectations, but because they don't communicate those expectations very well with managers or vice versa, then a lot of times you end up losing good people and you end up with having just the people that are your D and F players.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it really you're focusing on like the internal processes and communication and stuff like that. Now you were talking about making sure that you kind of understand the temperature of the room or in the environment that you've created. Is there any good way to kind of gauge that? I mean, I know because it's kind of hard to put a tracking on that. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, in terms of, well, number one is just basically having the managers to have those one-on-one. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
important, to have those evaluations. Hey, man, how's everything going? Are you excited about what you're doing? Are you having any problems? Because a lot of times, it's easy to say, hey, here's your stuff, here's your tools, go out and do it, and then all of a sudden they don't have the proper training, they don't feel equipped, and so it's important that just people spend time with each other, get to know them, build those relationships with them, because you can tell your people. You can tell by their moods. You
Yep.
can tell by their attitudes. You can tell by how they're coming in. A lot of times, depending on they don't even come in, they quit calling in. They're not checking in. They lose that passion, man. They lose that drive, and that's where you have to either reel them in or you have to let them go. One of the two.
Corey put something up here. I haven't had a chance to read it, but I figured we'd throw it up. You know what I mean? Let's get some engagement going on. He said,
Yeah.
I don't know. Communication is vital. I don't have that issue. I've got the issue of guys saying they know more than they do. Yeah, I know. Check references. They don't ever respond. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ronnie?
Um, you know, if here's what happens, we always want to impress, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes we'll push that envelope, and honesty and integrity is one of those things to where it's just important. But a lot of times, other than just references, and I don't know what you have in terms of your hiring policy, but one thing that you may want to do is a lot of times people set people up on a 30, 60-day type probation, and
Mm,
I had that problem in before, and basically you have to set some parameters about them, give them the time frame, give them the tools, but then if they can't deliver, then you have to reset them down, because it's possible that you may have the wrong person in the wrong place. They may not be that door knocker, or they may not be that person knows how, but they
yeah.
may be good for numbers. There's a book out there that talks about the 17 indisputable laws of teamwork.
Yeah.
And that book is powerful, man, because so many times we're putting the wrong people in the wrong place, and they just don't shine there.
Can you repeat that one more time? The name of that book. What I'll do is I'll throw that in the comments.
Yeah, it's the 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork by John Maxwell. It's an incredible book.
So what about, do you have any suggestions of to not even have to go to that point where you've already brought them on for that test period and to kind of do a better job at the front end?
There's all types of like personality type profile tests when you're going through your like hiring process.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could kind of build those questions and stuff like that. And because sometimes references, you got to remember when people give references, those references are their friends and maybe people that they knew in their other job, man, that's going to blow up
Right.
their skirts, right?
Right. You're right.
So that may not always be a true way of knowing what they got,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
man, maybe creating some type of a personality type profile
Got
to
it.
where they can take it. That's another way that some people do it.
Yeah. Well, we got Jake. Jake threw out a comment too. Let's see what Jake's got to say. So Jake says, I never start folks at the top. If you want to lead a crew, show me you can do what you are going to ask them to do. Sales, production, whatever. I like that a lot. That's solid.
Oh, good job, Jake.
That's what's up, Jake. I love it, man. Well, dude, one thing I know you had something special kind of to just share here that you were thinking about doing. I thought this might be kind of a good time. I don't know what your thoughts are, Ron.
Oh man, you're already trying to get me in trouble, aren't you?
You know I am, man. But I know you're Showtime, so I know you're here to have a good time, man. So I know you make it happen. You make these people happy, right?
Yeah. So are you talking about Austin? Is that what you're referring to?
I'm talking about Austin, man. Yeah, I'm talking about Austin.
So, man, look, guys, I know this absolutely sounds crazy, and I've not even talked to any of the other guys, but I tell you this, for the people that are on live tonight, if you guys are interested in going to Austin, I'm going to do 50% off. My God, I can't believe I just said that.
Wait, you said 50?
50% off of the ticket price, man. But they have to go to training at jobnimbus.com. But dude, if you don't see me in Austin, it's because I didn't talk to nobody else about giving this 50% discount. So, but we will do that tonight, man.
Okay, so we only tonight only, guys. So it's 50% off for Job Nimbus tickets. All right, and where do they have to go?
They'll go to training at jobnimbus.com, and then I'll send them the link.
Okay.
And they can go to that link.
Okay, so guys, if you guys want 50% off the Job Nimbus tickets, send an email to training@jobnimbus.com, and our boy Ronnie Showtime Smith is going to get back with you, and he's going to give you, is it a discount code or something like that you'll hook him up with?
Yeah, it'll be a discount code. And because listen, guys, we want to make this investment into you. And this thing that's happening in Austin, it's not just about just a piece of software. Man, all of our support staff, we're going to have everybody, man. We're going to have beginner classes for people that's just trying to learn about Job Nimbus. We're going to have that intermediate type deal to where, hey, I'm a little more advanced there, but I'm trying to figure out estimates. I'm trying to figure out how to do this, right? So we're going to be covering that. And then for all the experts out there that has us killing it, that knows it all, we're going to be talking about that as well. So there's going to be something, hey, man, Big Dr. Randy's going to be there.
Big Dog Randy, man.
Big Dog Randy, man. Rolf, right? He's gonna be bringing the heat, right?
Big heat, man, dude. Yeah, we had Latif's out here chiming in, man. We got Latif talking with Boss Up Solutions. What's up, Latif, man? How you doing? Yeah, man, cool. That's what's up. So yeah, if you guys are interested, make sure you're hitting up Ronnie. It's at training@jobnimbus.com, right? And he's gonna hook you up with that 50% discount code. Cool.
Got it.
Can you guys still see me on that side? Can you see me, Ronnie, or no? Or am I black now?
No, I see you.
Oh, really? It went black on my end, so I guess we're good to go. At least that's good. We had another question too. Looks like Corey asked about the book. Oh, so you didn't catch the book. So if you want to check out the book, Corey, I actually put it in the comments. But it was, what was it? The 7 indisputable laws of teamwork.
Right.
So if you want to check that out, make sure you're doing so. But we got some more stuff. It looks like, let's go back to, I think we had Andrew Alanier, our boy, hop in here. He's actually been on the show before too. Where is he? Scrolling through the comments. All right. So he says, let's see here. Let's pull it up. He says, I actually tell guys, no references, no hire. If you want to work for an empire, you will show references or prove your worth. Hey, man, Andrew, if you don't mind, man, give us a little bit more info on that. Are there certain type of references you're using? Because we're kind of asking that, sometimes that they're putting family, friends, and stuff like that. Do you kind of have a workaround to make sure that these are viable references? If you do, I'd love to have you hop on and post it in the comments. That'd be awesome.
I'll actually kind of respond to his thing there. One of the things that keep in mind when you're getting ready to hire someone, don't always just ask for personal reference. I would always ask them and get more than 1 or 2. It's very important that you would get in here and actually on the reference side of this, I would get at least 3 or 4 of where they worked at before. And then maybe get a personal reference. But here's the deal. You need to sit down and formulate your questions and then ask those same questions to each one of those references, and
Yeah.
then see how all of those are lining up. So
Ah.
yeah, so then that way, if you get like four where he worked at before, you have the mainline questions and laid out, then you could do that and then ask them, then look at them all side by side. And if those things are not lining up, then there's something wrong with inside of those references as well.
Boom. I like that strategy a lot. And
Yeah,
Andrew actually said they have to be professional references, so that's good follow up there. And
yeah.
then I pulled this up before, but he says, let's see here. I'm a fan of recruiting people instead of hiring walk-ins. If you hear about a guy that's worth his salt, I network with him or take him out to dinner. What's your thoughts on that, Ronnie? Pretty solid there.
Yeah, that's definitely solid, man. And I'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
something else that what some people do. People hook up with their own employees. You know what I'm saying? Because your
Yeah.
employees, and
Yes.
I'll tell you this.
Mhm.
It is more important to me to hire culturally
Yeah.
because when you have your people that you're working with in your team, man, let your employees be part of that. Let them go through that interviewing process, and because if that's who they're going to be working with, and if they ain't jiving, it's not going to work. But I would
Mhm.
definitely, from a culture standpoint, is to be able to get everybody's input on those things.
I got a kind of a personal question because I'm real into business. I'm really interested in these companies that you were working with prior to that were getting up to $100 million in revenue. You were going in there looking at problems. You were looking at issues and processes that they needed to implement to improve their business. But on the other side of things, what did you notice that was maybe that they all had similar that got them to that point? Because I mean, there's a lot of people watching here being like, man, if I could get to $100 million, that sounds great. Was there anything you noticed that was just like, man, they had this dialed in, they had this dialed in, or was there a cultural thing or anything that was just like, yep, that's why they got there?
Yeah, and they all started. Listen, these types of companies all started where we all start at. They all
Yeah.
start out where they're building their companies. There's a
Hmm.
trend that I've noticed that, like, when you go from 1 to 5, when you get to that first 5 years, because you started out by yourself, and it's
Yeah.
about truly about putting the right people in the right place, doing those right jobs, and
Hmm.
let them shine. But see, here's another thing: when you get like for Randy. When
Yeah.
Randy hit 7 years in business, he was already at a 10-year basically type business, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be able to change those processes quick enough to understand to make sure you can keep up with the movement. You got to have the foundation. And for these companies that started building these bigger companies like that, they
Yeah.
looked at their infrastructure, they put the right people around them, and man, they let them shine. And to maintain that is tough, man. And one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people have is hiring. They spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and you got to become really good because as you're developing, and I'll tell you something else about that. A lot of
Yeah.
times we overhire. A lot of times we'll get these people in place, and just like, I don't need all these people from a time management standpoint. I got like 10 people doing the same thing, man. What the crowd? So you can so you got to look at that and make sure, you got to make sure from a time management standpoint. And a lot of, a lot of people become focused on what they're doing. They
Yeah.
do it with the purpose. They look at it from everything from a telescopic view, and then they back it up to an actual microscopic view. Hey, this is where I want to be in the next 5 to 10 years. What
Yep.
does that look like? But now let me back it up, and what do I have to do? And that's what a lot of these bigger companies do, man. And a lot of them fell on their face and stuff like that. But it's
Hmm.
just consistency.
Well,
It's consistency, not giving up. Go ahead.
why do you think that people are overhiring then? Is it just workload and they feel overwhelmed? And even though that they're at that point, it's still not the right time to hire? Like, how can you tell when it's the right time to hire?
Well, because when it gets to the point to where one person can't handle that load anymore and it needs to be split up,
Hmm.
then, hey, when they start coming, hey man, I'm just overwhelmed. Because a lot of times we find ourselves, we throw a lot of work on one person.
Yeah.
Like when you're first starting out, you got multiple people wearing multiple hats, but you
Hmm.
got to scale it. It's about just making sure you're putting there and then hiring when you need to hire. And a lot of times it's just like when you're growing, some people grow really too fast. You can grow
Yeah.
too fast, and then they just throw these people in there, and a lot of times they don't know what the processes are, so everybody's just running around doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting because I mean, I'm not in the industry, right? I just have a marketing company, but I mean, at the end of the day, business is business, right? And like, how do you know if you're growing too fast? Because I mean, obviously that's a decent problem to have, but how do you know that it's just like, yo, I need to slow the things down. I need to stop taking more business on, or whatever it might be.
Well, statistics, I mean, just from what I've experienced over the years, a lot of times, when people are, because people are in different stages, right? And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
answer your question, but when people are first starting out in their first year, they're just out knocking on doors and trying to get everything going. They haven't really hired anybody yet. But by
Mm-hmm.
the time they get into that second year, they're starting to see growth. Now they can't handle it all, so they need somebody in the office. But it shows that when you get to that 5 year, because you got people at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 25 years. But when you get to that 10-year mark, I don't know what it is about that 10-year mark, but when you get to that 10-year mark, it's like
Mm-hmm.
that's where you got to either go big or scale it back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to start hiring more people to be able to do the things that you want, because what happens is if you don't, then now you're not taking care of your customers. And that
Yep.
becomes a big problem if you don't scale it and make sure you can have everybody to cover everything.
100%. I like that a lot. Okay, so I wanted to touch a little bit. Andre Lanier, man, he's actually out in Michigan, I believe, and he has a company called Empire Contractors, doing a lot of commercial work and stuff like that. So let's start out with this first one. Actually, he said we started a program recently. If you bring in a good employee, you get a $50 bonus. If the guy is here for 60 days, you get $100 bonus. And then he said, but the new hire must put your name down as his lead. Okay, so I agree with that.
Right.
And then he kind of followed up. Actually, he was kind of going with our conversation hand in hand, which is kind of nice. He says, "Don't hire people and then try to find work for them. Sell and then
Correct.
create the work, then hire the people."
Correct. Yeah, because when you get that volume to where it needs to be, and a lot of people have gone to that, instead of like running Indeed
Mhm.
ads and all that,
Yeah.
it's like with their employees, like who do you know? Who do you feel like that would be a good fit for our culture, for our company? And a lot of times when there's that personal connection, and some people are actually doing more than that. I don't, that's some are doing that. Some people will do a
Yeah.
500, $750
Ooh.
like a bonus, man. I've seen now some of the big companies, man. I've seen them do 1,000,
Some
1,500
serious
bucks.
cash, some serious
Yeah, yeah,
bonuses. I
yeah,
guess if you're looking at turnover or not, not find the right people. I guess you're saving money in the long run, right? Okay, actually, we have Janice. So Janice was Sig Construction out here in Denver. She was actually on the show last week. Janice, thanks for connecting with us on the show last week, and thanks for following along again. We always appreciate the interaction. And if you guys aren't following Janice, actually, she's got a great Instagram profile going on for Sig Construction. So it's just at Sig Construction. Make sure you guys go follow her on Instagram. But she asks, who would you say would be the best fit to spearhead the company CRM in a growing company? Would it be? And then she also says, would it be the team leads collaborating with one key person?
Are you talking about, let me make sure I understand that question. So you're saying, would I want to have someone specifically inside of Job Nibis taking it and adding on it as they need to? Is that kind of what, am I understanding that correctly?
Let's see here. We'll get her to jump back on real quick and give us a
I just want to
comment.
make sure I'm understanding that question.
No, I appreciate it. Right, we have to make sure we're hitting it right. But hey, while we're waiting, this is a good time, guys. Make sure if you guys are interested, go to the Job Nimbus Solution Summit. You got two options: share this thing out, and you can get entered for a raffle for the free ticket. The second one is email our buddy Ronnie Showtime Smith and hit him up at training@jobnimbus.com. What he'll do is he'll actually hook you up with a coupon code, right? And that coupon code will give you a 50% off discount for that ticket. So
Correct.
if you want to learn how to streamline these processes, if you need help in leadership, if you need help in marketing, there's so many people there. If you look at the schedule of people that they have speaking, it is unbelievable. So if you want to learn anything about the company, make sure that, or if you want to grow your company and streamline your processes, make sure you're checking them out. So let's see here. Still kind of waiting on Janice on that. But well, maybe it's a good time. So what else are you gonna be talking about at Job Nimbus Solution Summit? Is there anything else that you think is a high priority of why people need to be going?
I can tell you this, but I can't actually talk about it on this show. But man, we've got some big launches that are fixing to happen that are just going to be
Ooh.
absolutely off the hook, man. But they got to come to Austin to find out. Everybody
Okay.
in Austin is going to be able to take it. It's going to rock their world on some of
Yeah.
these things that we're getting ready to launch. But man, overall, a lot of times when you have expo shows and you do these, and you got vendors, hey man, we're going to have some of our integrated partners going to be there, man. So if you've been using Company Cam or you've been using some of these other, they're going to be there. So what cool other way to get into one room, one place with integrated partners with us. But the cool thing about this is being able to break out into these sessions. So it's going to be small type environment. You want to go to learn how to be just the beginner stuff, you can do that. And you're just getting into these classes and integrate. And then, man, we're going to also have a deal to where, depending on what ticket they got, we're going to have an area to where they can really just connect and get some one-on-one time with me and some of the other people inside of Job Nimbus as well. It's going to be cool. Party time.